This video is brought to you by Hit Point Press and their deck of mini animated spell cards. On sale now at animatedspells.com. Hello and welcome to the Gallant Goblin. Today we're previewing something pretty different and really exciting. Our friends and old sponsor, the Roll for Combat podcast, ran the RPG Superstar contest last year in which folks created monsters for Pathfinder 2nd edition. Well, that project just took off. Stephen Glicker and his crew have turned it into one of the biggest RPG projects of the year, and it's on Kickstarter right now. There are 3 books in all now, and they're going to be converted for use in both Pathfinder and D&D 5th edition. You've got the Bestiary itself, which is 172 pages with 114 new monsters, an innovative new monster harvesting and crafting system, and new player options. And then there's the Dragon Ancestry book for all of you who have been wanting to play as dragon PCs in your campaigns. Not Dragon Ken or Dragonborn or even my favorite, the little kobolds. No. Actual dragons. And this isn't some fan project. This book is written by Paizo's own design manager, Mark Seifter. And then there's the new level 1 to 10 adventure, Jewel of the Indigo Isles by Patrick Rennie, Linda Zayas-Palmer, and our friend Ron Lundeen. The adventure takes full advantage of the beasts and the crafting system of the main bestiary book. You can get all 3 as either hardcover books or PDFs, plus other goodies. But let's take a closer look at each one. First, we have the bestiary itself. In the RPG Superstar contest, folks submitted monsters that were professionally judged by RPG professionals and voted on by the public. The 114 best ones were edited, illustrated, and included in the book. And it looks very much like an official Pathfinder bestiary book. And there are some wild monsters in here. You've got the Butcher Booth by Rodney Stone, a mimic-type creature that appears as a building like an old abandoned cottage or a haunted house or a carnival attraction, perhaps. Then it turns anyone unfortunate enough to venture inside into undead husks, and then it eats them. And you've got potentially more friendly types of monsters. There are 3 constructed companions by Kyle Fenwick to populate the house of that eccentric and lonely tinkerer in your adventure. You've got a mechanical maitre d' who can serve the party some magically imbued food at just the right moment. You have the automatic acolyte, who can be loaded up with spell scrolls and wands, which it can use by itself, and it can even help sustain the spells cast by one of its allies. And there's the bespoke bodyguard companion, who can provide some muscle when needed and has some extra dimensional compartments in here for handy storage. There's a whole family of mechanized companions to keep you company. And finally, you've got the Parrot Bear by Alexander Otanen. Enough said. There are so many scary and creative and fun creatures in here. You really need to check it out for yourself. What may be an even bigger draw, though, is the monster parts system, which allows you to turn the monsters you slay into gear like custom weapons, armor, shields, magic items, and more. You can use it with any monsters, even those crazy ones you came up with on your own, like that platypus bear that I'm definitely including in my next adventure. The system scales up with your characters, so it always feels relevant, and it was created by Mark Seifter, one of the writers who created Pathfinder 2nd edition. Now, this is a robust 30-page system with a lot of customization that you can do to help the system fit into your campaign. There are 3 different overall variants that you can use depending on how much you want this system to replace the normal amounts of loot and treasure that you have in a campaign. You can do the full variant to replace almost all the wealth and loot with monster parts, or the light variant, which only replaces the currency they find and not the other in-game magical items. This will mean that the party will probably only have a few refined crafted items with moderate power, but you can continue to use the creative and magical loot that are already in the adventure. And then there's the hybrid system, which is ultimately a little bit more work for the GM, but lets the players enjoy the best of both worlds. You just have to pick and choose which loot to replace with the monster parts. The book will help you keep everything balanced. Once you kill the monsters and gather their parts, you can refine the parts to make your weapons better. And then later, you can use other monster parts to imbue your item with special properties and abilities. So for example, You can refine a sword out of the parts from a monster that had slashing or piercing unarmed attacks. Eventually, when you reach a certain threshold, your item will level up, increasing its item level, of course, and maybe even giving you more benefits. You can never refine an item higher than your own level. Once the item is of a certain level, you can imbue it. Some items can be imbued more than once. If you want to imbue your item with fire, head out and find a fire-based monster or a monster with fire-based abilities. The book gives you an example here. The party's level 7 fighter, we'll call him Barry, has just refined a level 6 longsword out of a tooth from a T-Rex that they just defeated. Now he wants to set his T-Rex tooth sword on fire, which is a sentence I get to say in my life. Since the party has recently slaughtered 2 neutral good magma scorpions who were just minding their own business and collected their parts, the fighter can now imbue those parts into his fancy longsword, and he can choose one of 3 different fire paths for his weapon: magic, might, and technique. Magic essentially lets the item cast certain fire spells, might adds fire damage to the weapon, and technique adds extra damage over time. The fighter, Barry, chooses might. He imbues 250 gold pieces of parts to increase the imbued property to level 6, which is the highest level he can go on a level 6 weapon. Now, his big T-Rex tooth longsword is on fire and deals an additional 1d4 fire damage on a hit. The weapon is now a, quote, +1 striking fire might level 6 T-Rex tooth longsword level 6. You can bet that there are not too many others out there like that around. You can imbue items with acid, bane, chaotic, charisma, cold, constitution, dexterity, electricity, energy resistance, evil, fire, fortification, good, intelligence, lawful, positive, sensory, sonic, strength, sturdy, wild, winged, wisdom, or with a specific spell like magic missile or bless or fear. And some of those elements even have different paths like fire did. So you should be able to see the huge overall scope of the system. You can create some crazy, unique items to really customize your character. It really allows your characters to craft just the type of items they may want, while giving them more motivation to get out there and engage with the world. Every monster slain is an opportunity. The bestiary also gives us 2 new archetypes, or subclasses, depending on whether we're talking about Pathfinder or 5th edition. The monster mage can steal spells and special abilities from monsters and use them, and the vestige hunter lets you take parts from monsters and graft them onto your own armor to use their abilities, or just eat them to gain their powers if you like. So you might be able to take the wings off of that dragon and graft them onto your own armor to fly. And there are other new backgrounds and special magic items that can be crafted from the parts of the creatures in the book. That's the Battlezoo Bestiary book. Next, we have the Dragon Ancestry book. This is the passion project by Mark Seifter, the design manager for Pathfinder. It brings in a plethora of new playable dragons. Not only do you have the usual chromatic and metallic dragons, but you've got primal dragons of brine, cloud, crystal, magma, and umbral. You have imperial dragons of forest, sea, sky, sovereign, and the underworld. You've got esoteric dragons of astral, dream, ethereal, nightmare, and the occult. And outer dragons like lunar, solar, time, void, and vortex. And finally, planar dragons of the apocalypse, bliss, crypt, edict, havoc, infernal, paradise, rift, and tumult. All these ancestries or races will be balanced with the rest of the corresponding game and will let you use dragon powers unique to each dragon type. And finally, we have the adventure book that brings it all together, Jewel of the Indigo Isles. It brings in the monsters from the Battlezoo Bestiary, some dragon NPCs from the Dragon Ancestry book, and the monster part system. Jewel of the Indigo Isles is actually 3 different adventure books in total combined into one adventure path, as you may be used to for Pathfinder or Starfinder adventures. Stephen describes it as Guardians of the Galaxy with pirates in a fantasy setting. You'll be on the hunt for legendary buried treasure, but there's way more to the legend than you are led to believe, and you're not the only one looking for it. It includes at least 18 new monsters, new magic items, new gods, a gazetteer for the Indigo Isles, a gazetteer for the starting town of Rumplank on Goldcrop Island, several new ancestries to play, including the Gammon, who are parrot people, the Wildfire Leshy, who are wildfire turned to life, and the Galt Zagori, who are fey creatures, and a lot more. And it's written by some RPG pros. You've got Patrick Rennie, who helped write Carrion Crown, Kingmaker, Skull and Shackles, Jade Regent, and many more. Ron Lundeen, who we recently interviewed for his Horizons of the Vast adventure path. He also helped write Iron Gods, Strange Eons, Against the Eon Throne, Age of Ashes, Ruins of Aslant, and many, many more. And there's Linda Zayas Palmer, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing any names here. She helped write Age of Ashes, Iron Fang Invasion, Hell's Vengeance, War for the Crown, Dawn of Flame, and many others as well. So there are 3 overall books in all. You can get everything for Pathfinder 2nd edition or D&D 5th edition. Plus you can pick up extras like stickers, pens, and digital assets to use with your virtual tabletop program of choice like Roll20. There are a lot of tiers to choose from depending on exactly what you want, and they have add-ons to really pick and choose. But the main tiers I'll draw your attention to are these. At $39 you can get the hardcover bestiary book and PDF, some vinyl monster stickers, and digital assets, plus whatever stretch goals they unlock. If you want to add in the Dragon Ancestry book and the adventure, you can get all of it in hardcover for $139, plus those extra goodies. They also have a special edition of the bestiary that's a Kickstarter exclusive. And if you can get in during the first 48 hours, so like right now, you can get a really nice Hunter's Dice case. I'm going to include a link down below to an AMA, or an Ask Me Anything, that Stephen and Mark Sifter did on Reddit. That's the best place to really dig into the details of what these books are bringing to the gaming table and how they came together. And of course, the Kickstarter link is in the video description down below as well. Go check it out and let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Also, go check out the sale happening right now for the Deck of Minis new animated spell cards. I've actually gotten to find the time to play some D&D lately, and I made little decks for my casters, and suffice it to say that they were blown away by these cards. They look so good in person, and they feel so good in your hands. They're tarot-sized reference cards with an animated front. All the art on every card is different, and they all have all the spell details you need on the back. And if you have a particularly long spell that needs 2 cards, they each have different animated art on the front. They're amazing. Go check them out right now while they're on sale at animatedspells.com. And thank you for watching today. Go check out the Kickstarter for the Battlezoo Bestiary by our friends at Roll for Combat. Let me know what you think. Come join our Patreon family and submit your own crits and fumbles to be included in our upcoming actual play games at patreon.com/thegallantgoblin. You can also chat with us on Discord, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. For now, though, please stay safe, have fun, love each other, and I'll see you next time at the Gallant Goblin.